Well, I think information has become the greatest commodity. And if you control information, you control collective networks of observers that really determine the reality that's in front of us. So my solution is really giving people the right information, to give them the truth about human potential. And look, I mean, when we study oneness, when we have people take their attention off the material world, off of everything known, going from this world of narrowing their attention on objects and things and people, and taking all of their attention off all the things that create separation and put it on a field of information. When they place their attention there, and where you place your attention is where you place your energy. And you have to agree that over millions of years, the human being in survival has pruned the circuitry in the brain to omit a very large spectrum of the way the world really is. Because in survival, if you're looking for food, who cares about energy? Yes. If you're being chased by a pack of cats, it's really not a time to open your heart. So we've edited out energy and information out of the equation, and we focus primarily on the spectrum of the material world. But that energy exists, and it only exists if you're aware of it. So then we have done this numerous times, where we ask people to keep broadening their focus and putting their attention on energy and information, and putting their attention on oneness and wholeness. And you could be any color skin, you could have any economic status, you could be young, you could be old, you could eat whatever you want, doesn't matter. When people connect to that field, we've seen an enormous release of energy in the brain. There is an arousal that takes place. And this arousal is an awakening. But the arousal is not pain, it's not anger or aggression, and it's not fear or anxiety. The arousal is ecstasy. It's ineffable. There's no word for it. It's bliss. The person is touching source. They are touching oneness. And there is an enormous release of energy in the brain and the heart and the body. And when that occurs, we start to see things how they really are. Not how we are. We see things how we are, not how they really are. And that awakening removes some veil, some illusion, some conditioning, some belief of separation, and we start feeling like all the wealth, all the money, all the success, all the accumulation of things could never bring that feeling. Nothing out there can do that. It's within us. That person has a dramatic upgrade in not only their neurocircuitry from that experience, but what their body is feeling emotionally. So in a sense, in a very short amount of time, it's like the past is removed out of the person's brain and body, and it brings them into the present moment. So what is the importance of that when you talk about exploitation of human beings? Yes. Well, the answer is very simple. If you're no longer controlled by your emotions, you're no longer controlled. And if you can feel that feeling and not have to consume anything to feel that feeling, I think the game changes dramatically. So we see people come to our workshops for all kinds of reasons. They come for health, they come for wealth, they come for a new relationship, they come for a new career, they come for a mystical experience. But what people are really coming for once they touch oneness is wholeness. They want more of that. And actually, they become more of that, and that energy becomes more of them. And so now it's not like you have to try to forgive, or you have to try to feel peace. It's in you. It's a new feeling that replaces the fear, that replaces the anger, the frustration, the resentment. There's an upgrade in the brain and body, in the nervous system. Now, if you can get a collective group of people experiencing that, it gets very interesting, because not only is there a dramatic change in the person's health, but they all of a sudden have a capacity to begin to affect others and create health in others.
Okay.
And it's transcendent of even space and time. In other words, we're doing research to show that a group of people can do it, a collective network of observers can influence another person's health that are 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 miles away. So now we're transcendent of the principles of Newtonian classical physics. And now when you really reach that point, then you have people coming together for one reason, and that is for the greatest good of humanity. And independent of the color of your skin or your culture or your language or what you eat or what you believe, we see the divine in every human being, because our interaction with the divine, our interaction with oneness, with wholeness, actually causes us to lay down circuits in our brain to perceive more of that in the world. Now, if you could get enough people doing that on a daily basis, I think that there will be solutions to problems that we are facing from a very limited state of consciousness or state of unconsciousness. And so that experience creates an arousal that creates an awareness of possibilities that we've never even thought about, because the experience changes us. So then, whether it's global warming, whether it's economic distress, whether it's political unrest, whether it's war, those leaders that actually have had that experience are considering the whole, not selfish, I'm just me. I'm thinking about the species of human beings, how we inform them properly, how we educate them properly, how we support them properly, how we heal them, how we shine for others so that others can shine. We show them the right way. And so at this particular time in history, it's so important for us to come together in that place. And when brain chemistry changes and oxytocin levels go up and people are feeling so happy and so whole that they can come up with solutions to problems from a greater level of consciousness. And consciousness is awareness, and awareness is paying attention. And the first step we have to really face is becoming conscious of our unconscious thoughts, our unconscious behaviors, our unconscious emotions, and become so conscious of them that we don't go unconscious with our eyes open in our waking day. And I think if enough people can do that, we can resolve the problems in the world that we consider problems, but they're just great opportunities brilliantly disguised as impossible situations. And we have to go to a greater level of consciousness, a greater level of awareness than the consciousness that's created those problems. And as I said, it's going to be you and I, it's going to be a collective network of observers who say, something doesn't feel right in the world. I feel like somehow there's agendas. I feel like I'm not being told the truth. I feel like there's a greater way. And I think that more people feel that way than we're being told. I think that could actually be the majority. And God, this is a time in history where we have to stand up for the truth. And what comes out of that is the same principle in biology, where you see a flock of birds all turning in the same direction, or a school of fish moving as behaviorally as one mind and one heart. If you study that principle, you would think that there was some leader that everybody was following, that it was a top-down phenomenon.
Yes.
Turns out with emergent communities, there is no leader. Everybody is leading. So the stigma then that if you act with too much passion to change culture or community, an individual that does that suffers their own life, whether it's Gandhi, whether it was William Wallace, whether it was Joan of Arc, anybody who's stepped out of convention had to risk their life. But if collective people are all leading,
yes,
because they have that energy in their heart, it becomes very difficult to produce those same effects. So this is the time in history where we all have to lead, and we have to give people permission when everybody else is in fear to show courage, when everybody else is in lack to be generous, to give. when everybody else is angry and hating, it's time to show compassion. That's the new model. And when we do that, it feels unnatural. It feels like we're doing something wrong because we're breaking from the collective consciousness.
Yes.
But if enough people are doing that, if you keep doing what feels unnatural, I think the side effect is you produce something really supernatural.
Yes, you're absolutely right. In fact, people think you're stupid and you're foolish when you do this.
No, because think about this. Anything that challenges convention will always be considered foolhardy or insane.
Yes.
Until you pull it off, then you're a mystic, then you're a saint, then you're a genius, you're a wise man, a wise woman when you do that. And yet, a miracle is something that happens outside of convention. And our scientists, they say this, they're running the samples over and over again, the same samples, really thinking that they've done something wrong. And they keep getting the same result. And I say to them, why are you in science? Why did you get into science in the first place? Didn't you want to discover something? And discovering something is an unknown. And they say it's unbelievable. That's because you're in the midst of changing a belief. And that's the truth now. That's a greater understanding. And gosh, I don't think we've reached the point yet where we've uncovered the truth. And I think the only truth that there really is oneness.
Yes.
Everything else is a journey to it, and there'll always be greater paradigms that we get to experience. But my goodness, as the world begins to change, we have to really rely on one another to be the example of truth.
I can't agree with you more, Absolutely, you are right, Dr. Joe. It is oneness that is the only truth, and everything else we see in the Hindu term, they call it the Maya, which is the illusion. But unfortunately,
the hallucination of separation.
Yes,
we descended from oneness. We descended from source. We descended from singularity, from the 0 point, from pure love, all the way down into density, fooled by our senses into separation. That if we came from love, pure love, then fear is not the opposite of love. It's the separation from it. Pain and suffering. It's not the opposite of love. It's the separation from it. But anger and hostility and violence, prejudice, that's not the opposite of love, it's the separation from it. And as we begin to move closer and closer to it, I think the side effect is we become one mind and one heart. And that's what the world needs more than anything else right now.